Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we're covering the top 10 quarterbacks heading into the 2023 NFL season. If you do enjoy NFL content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So first and foremost, at number one, no surprises here. It is going to be Patrick Mahomes. Pretty much a consensus around league circles as well as amongst fans. His combination of elite arm strength, athleticism, the ability to win the big game is the perfect culmination for him to have a case at number one. He wins at the highest level, and this guy is a true superstar. Now, at number two, this is when it gets a little more interesting because you have a divide of people. Some people believe that it's Josh Allen. Some people believe it's Joe Burrow. I opted to go with Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow from the sense of his pocket presence, his calmness, his awareness of what's going on around him. Josh Allen is much more athletic and can make plays happen on the ground. But if you're asking me who's the better quarterback as a whole, it is still Joe Burrow, despite the not as elite athleticism as Josh Allen has to offer. However, Joe Burrow is more accurate. This guy can win. He has won and completely transformed the Cincinnati Bengals franchise and has turned them into a perennial contender. That's why it's hard to leave Joe Burrow off of the number two spot. You look at what this offense has become. They're very dynamic across the board. This is a true testament to the front office for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow has a plethora of guys to go to. Joe Mixon on the ground, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. This offense is extremely dangerous. The one thing that has been impressive is his ability to navigate with a lot of pressure in his face. His first couple of seasons here in the NFL, he has faced a tremendous amount of pressure and pressure rates. Therefore, he still delivers on time, on target, despite having a ton of pressure in his face constantly. That's been a theme here, but this guy is for real. That's why it's hard to not have Joe Burrow at number two. He is so calm, cool, and collected, and finds ways to constantly have his team in the game. He can be a comeback kid. He's all of those things that you want in a true franchise quarterback. And then that leads us to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a little bit more dynamic, a little flashier game than Joe Burrow has to offer, and sometimes can do a lot with a little. Now, it's a true testament to what he is as an athlete. His arm strength is absolutely incredible. A bigger arm than Joe, that's for sure, but this guy is spectacular. There's some people that, are going to knock his turnovers. Now, granted, he had 14 interceptions last year, but a lot of the quarterbacks on this list are anywhere from that 12 to 14 range. So I think that's a little bit overstated sometimes. Sometimes he can get a little free with the ball. But I look at Josh Allen as one of those guys that you can consistently count him to win a division. He's going to be in this league for a long time, but I think you're going to see his style change a little bit. He's even mentioned it himself, the change of how he's going to have to play the game in order to extend his career, I think is very critical in terms of how we assess him as well. This year, he's not going to be running the ball as much. Although he is dynamic, he's super strong, super athletic, breaks a lot of tackles for a quarterback, which is crazy, but this guy is the real deal, and I think number three is appropriate. Then you move on to number four, Justin Herbert. Now, this is once again a tier that's a little bit harder to dissect, digest, and just looking at some of the stats here from this past season, 4,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks. This guy is tough to stop. You watch him in a lot of the games. Another guy with a gigantic rocket arm, good athlete. Him and Josh Allen are very similar in terms of player archetype. However, he is not nearly the runner that Josh Allen is, but Justin Herbert is dangerous. Now, granted, he's another guy that has a ton of weapons around him. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. This team is legit on offense, and part of the reason for that too is his elite playmaking ability. This guy can, throw off of multiple different platforms that make him truly special. He's made some throws that are some of the best over the last decade. He is that special of a talent. Justin Herbert at number four. Some people might believe that that's a little high. However, I think this is exactly where he needs to be. Number five, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that has really ascended on a lot of people's lists, rightfully so. With him making it to the Super Bowl last year, that is part of the reason why for the ascension. But when you look at his ability to run the football, take care of the football, and throw with accuracy, all of those things are what make up Jalen Hurts. He is a true X factor for an offense and can make plays happen off script. Jalen Hurts went from being a guy that people weren't so sure of when they had drafted him while Carson Wentz was still there, to wow, this is a perennial Pro Bowl level quarterback. He's a franchise guy. He's a guy that you can win a Super Bowl with, and I think that is very clear and obvious when you look at what his resume is going to be at the end of his career. Jalen Hurts is the real deal. Super fun, super dynamic, and when you look at his ability to hang on to the ball, take care of it, and add that rushing element the same way that a Josh Allen would, number 5 is extremely appropriate. Number 6. Now, some people are going to have some issues because if you look at quarterback rankings across the board in terms of where these players are, there are some people that believe that Aaron Rodgers is on the very tail end of a top 10. But when you look at how he can change the course of a game in terms of accuracy, he's as good as it gets. This guy can place the ball where he wants it. He can make plays happen once again off script. That has been his entire career. And you add him to a Jets team that has an awesome defense. It's going to be a terrific season for Aaron Rodgers, and I think he very well could make a deep postseason run. But in terms of an actual quarterback perspective, Aaron Rodgers still has it. Great pocket presence, knows how to deliver the ball on time. This guy also still has a big time arm, even at his current age. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a fantastic last couple of seasons if he ends up deciding to play that long. Maybe 2 or 3 more potentially are in the fold. Maybe it's just 1 year, but at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is dynamic. He could win, and I think when you look at where the New York Jets are at, Aaron Rodgers is a terrific fit into this offense, and he is going to be dangerous next season. The next one here, we have Lamar Jackson. Now, some people are very, very high on Lamar, and there's a lot of people that are much lower on Lamar. I am kind of right in that middle threshold. I think he's the 7th best quarterback heading into this season, and the reason I say that is he's improving as a passer, and he is still super dynamic on the ground. They have some weapons there in Baltimore. This is going to be the biggest leap you're going to see from him in terms of his passing production through the air. I think this is going to be his best year yet. You continue to see the progress when you watch the film on him, but Lamar Jackson getting some more weapons on this offense, some more playmakers, is definitely going to help, in my opinion. When you look at, in totality, where he ranks as a rusher of all time, you have to argue he is the best rushing quarterback that this league has ever seen. A lot of credit to Michael Vick, but Lamar Jackson has done it with such great consistency and volume. He is number here at 7, which is slightly controversial. And once again, I have the asterisk there because that was not a complete season last year. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. He went from a quarterback that people did not even have in the top 20, nor should have they, in terms of what he had shown under Urban Meyer. But what the Doug Peterson era has taught us is this guy can't progress into a franchise quarterback. The stats really prove that. 4,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. This guy was the model of consistency this year, won a big-time playoff game, which was incredible. It was incredible to see him in that comeback against the Chargers. He showed great poise in that one, despite turning over the ball a ton in that game. Trevor Lawrence was able to ride the wave and ultimately overcome and win that football game. They had a nice competitive playoff game against Kansas City as well. Trevor Lawrence kept them in that game too. But when you look at what he has been able to progress into, it's going to be another big year for Trevor Lawrence. Adding a guy like Calvin Ridley, and you're basically upgrading from a Marvin Jones, who was a shell of his former self, into a Calvin Ridley, who hopefully is in the right mindset and has a terrific season, which I think he will. Him and Christian Kirk are going to be a dynamic duo heading into the season. So Jacksonville, has some great representation in these quarterback rankings with Trevor Lawrence. This guy is the real deal. At number 9, another controversial one, and people aren't going to like this in the slightest. It's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks. Even a little more turnover prone last year than he was the year prior. When I look at Kirk Cousins, this is a guy that in terms of accuracy is very well top 4 in the NFL in terms of where he can place the ball. What he struggles with is pressure, but this Vikings offensive line is one of the better units in the NFL heading into the season, as long as they remain healthy up front. He has some playmakers. He's got Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, TJ Hawkinson, a plethora of guys that can help him. And in terms of statistical success, he's right up there. There are going to be some people that say, well, look at his prime time, look at him in the postseason. While some of those criticisms remain true and remain fair for him, I still think he's a top 10 level quarterback. You put him on, with how good they were last year and how good he was in the clutch last year, in particular in the fourth quarter, this guy was legit. He made a lot of big throws towards the end of the year. I think Kirk Cousins at the end of the day is a top 10 level quarterback. People aren't going to love that, but I firmly believe he's cemented himself in this top 10. And now, once again, another controversial one here. Number 10 is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, once again, not in a full season, 2,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 picks. Kyler is so dynamic as a runner of the football. As a thrower, has a little bit of ways to go yet in terms of being in this threshold with some of these guys, but once again, on the ground, that is where his value lies. Same with Lamar Jackson, same with Josh Allen. Those guys affect the game differently than some of these other traditional quarterbacks that you see in these top 10 rankings. But Kyler Murray, despite how bad this season could be for them from a record standpoint, I think he should have a nice statistical season. He's going to do a lot to try to help this team win. The subtraction of DeAndre Hopkins is going to hurt this team's stock, but I think he's better than some of these guys that are on the border, like Derek Carr, Matt Stafford. I like Kyler Murray in terms of what he brings over some of these other guys that are borderline in that top 10. Dak Prescott's another one that people are going to say should be in consideration here in that top 10. But for me, it's Kyler Murray. I'm not a Kyler Murray fan by any stretch of the imagination, not even close, but I think with how dynamic he is with the football and what he can do on the ground, it is worthy of a top 10 nod. So thanks again for tuning into my top 10 quarterback rankings heading into the 2023 season. If you did enjoy the content and like football, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll continue with more of these top 10s heading into the future videos, so make sure you stop by once again. And thanks for tuning in to Utility Sports.